Welcome one, welcome all back to your unusual Monday night shenanigans here on the Aegis Esports channel. It is the Aegis Defenders League closing out its regular season, and with playoffs right around the cards, you got yourself a new talent group coming in. I am so happy to step in here to rock with my man Orbital. We'll be covering the rest of the ADL split going forward here from here on out, and well, Orbital, I came in at a perfect time here with the matchup we've got for tonight.
We got a banger of a match coming in. It is going to be the top dogs right now of the Bilgewater division going at it as best they can to determine seeding. Really, now, of course, one team is pretty much already hard locked into that top position. However, there can still be about that 5% chance that things go awry for them here tonight. So that's what we're really looking for.
Yeah, and we'll introduce our challenger first here. It's the Flash Syndicates that are coming in 3-1, 7-3 in game score. Now, keep track of that record and game score, especially when we look at our next team, because it's something that really makes this matchup interesting and why we're showing it to close out the regular season. But this team is still supported by the similar roster that we've seen all split long, which is a Winter Chard, not important, Vietnam Dragon, Lien, and Bento in the support role. A team that is looking to be the challengers for somehow a bigger juggernaut in this Bilgewater group.
But of course, the main thing for Flash Syndicates is who's showing up here today. You can see that they have a very, very large roster pool to choose from with these substitutes. And we know teams have been experimenting a little bit with, do you want subs specifically to rotate out against specific teams, or do you use them as those emergency backups? So depending on how they decide to kind of play with this roster, you can throw a couple curveballs into the undefeated's way.
Yep, the undefeated's way indeed. That would be the Iridescent Avengers, who are currently 4-0, 8-2 in game score. And like I was talking about, here's where we'll have that discussion, right? Why this matchup is very fun. 4-0, but 8-2 in game score. Their game difference is 6. The Flash side is 4. So hypothetically, if we see a 2-0 sweep come across, this becomes a lot more interesting of a group. It actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Flash Syndicates would take it because they'd have a tied game score, but they'd have the head-to-head with both of them at 4-1. So we'll keep that in mind as we go forward. Obviously, there's this roster: top lane, GG no rematch; jungle, Joby; mid lane, a blazing cake. You've got Duck in the 80 carry slot, and then Chillin' Willin kills in the support role across for the IDA roster. And it makes sense, right? Because when we talk about the ADL, this split, just many iterations of the ADL. I was the caster for the ADL last split. There's always Iridescent Dawn. Iridescent Dawn as an organization is one of those mainstay orgs in Tier 3. They always put out competitive teams at this level of play. So it's really not that surprising to me that they have a roster that is looking like one of the contenders once we get to that playoff push.
Now, the huge thing for me is, are they going to keep this up moving forward? Because pretty much, as you mentioned, it's a hard lock. As long as they win one game, they're not really losing out on that first place spot. And for them, that's really what you're looking at. As long as you get first place, you don't really care what happens afterwards. And you can already tell, maybe this is the time to experiment, maybe to look around, figure out exactly how you want to play, because those patches are coming in. We do know for a fact that currently Aurora is still banned. So how are you going to play with that? How are you going to dive into that come the next week of playoffs? So to me, I'm really looking at IDA. Are you actually going to take this seriously? Which I hope you do, and I assume you do, considering you're 4-0. But are you going to continue to do that even through the drafts? If you win game 1, are you going to do it for games 2 and 3?
Yeah, it's a big point of emphasis, right? And it does make for a fun game 1 at the very least, right? Because if game 1 goes the way of Flash Syndicate, then we do have a very fun series on our hands. But if it's a game 1 win for IDA, yeah, the one caveat we'll at least have is I'm sure we'll have some fun drafts come online for game 2, potentially game number 3. We're looking to get started with this draft not too far away. It looks like we're just waiting on IDA to ready up from their side. I can confirm to all you guys that have been watching a lot of North American League of Legends over the weekend and maybe in the past week, having to deal with pro draft. Looks like our woes have been heard by the draft law team. They do have what is the best third-party drafting software backup here. I mean, pro draft, it just doesn't compete, Orbital. There's nobody like draft law.
I like how we went like, yeah, Pro Draft's been around for a while, but listen, we got to upgrade to the new. It's like iRobot all over again or anything like that. Got to upgrade to the new, got to get the new best one out there. But, you know, either way, it's something very interesting because, of course, all of us, you know, kind of hate that factor. But like you said, it's going to be nice to be able to get back, be able to really see what champions are coming through and make sure we know exactly what's going to be on the table.
Most importantly, as we go to the draft now, the draft is going live, at least on the Aegis side, you're going to see that our lovely faces stay up here, unlike on Pro Draft, where it just goes away and you have to stare at the ugly Pro Draft model. So we're into the draft here. Flash Syndicate on your blue side, starting off with a likely target ban, in my mind, getting thrown over here. Don't normally see a lot of Gwen B1 bans, so looks like Flash Syndicate have done their homework knowing what the picks IDA really like to go for, and potentially a Gwen ban that might just stick around the entire series.
Now, with that being said, rematch won't get it. Of course, when you swap to red side, you might have a better chance. Or when you swap to blue, you might have a better chance. There's a lot more bans. As you can see, the Ivern is currently top tier pick. Inside of the jungle world provides so much safety. And considering you're running a lot of ADs into that mid lane now, maybe dropping an AP AD into the bottom lane as well, it's an understandable sort that, hey, that jungle role, either you run a full AP side with a Karthus or a Brand, there's a high chance that, yeah, you're going to run the Ivern, so you got to ban away on red side. That's right up there, usually with like an Ezreal or anything like that. However, Talia is a great one as well. And with the Udyr behind it, these are going to start looking like those targeted ban sets, not important. And Win Richard are both being targeted on that edge.
And both is certainly being targeted. I like the Udyr ban a lot. I think that's another power pick, flexible power pick as well. And I think that's what you really see get an extra edge in competitive, is the fact that you have a lot of these very fun flex picks that can sort of throw drafts and make coaches sort of adapt as a draft goes on. And Lucian currently in his current iteration of the meta also, I believe, fits in there. I've seen, yes. I spent the weekend watching Lotus in the OQs, and Robbie Bob played 3 Lucian mid games, so Lucian is as much as a mid champion as he is an AD carry at the current position. And that Ezreal ban, as much as it hurts my heart as an Ezreal OTP, also a very good ban given where he is in the meta.
Yeah, that's understood. You have to. And this leaves open the Jinx and the like in that bottom side. I mean, Varus is also takeable, but Smolder, of course, with the hard stacking, this is the other side of it. Either you go hard scaling with that Smolder. I mean, Jinx as well, usually you can temper out, but I think Smolder just hits a little bit harder. Especially in that late game. If you're planning to scale up, it's a great takeaway. At the same time, I don't think you want to give that to Duke. Duke is very, very dangerous. I think has 1 or 2 Smolder sides, but you flash it, you don't lock it in. And that actually leaves a huge opening for IDA. Xin Zhao is decent at the ganks, and you're looking to try and take control. But yeah, there's a Zyra. There's also coverage in the AP jungle.
Yeah, and there's still a lot of those marksman mid lane options up if you want to. The Corki wasn't banned away. I still think Corki, post nerfs, is still pretty viable to rock in this mid lane. So I love a Zyra Corki turn here. I also wouldn't hate maybe prioritizing a Leona. I think Leona is one of the best supports in the meta right now, and then grabbing whatever AD carry you want left in the cream of the crop, because Leona works with a lot of them. They'll lock the Zyra in, and like we kind of talked about, the flexibility of some of these champions orbital, that's likely a jungle pick we were looking at.
I hate that. I hate that so much because we had, what was it, the Ashe in the bot lane before. We got some silly stuff with the Zyra coming out as a counter, and now it's in jungle, and everyone's like, we hate this, or we love it one way or another. You see the Jinx we mentioned. This is like an ADC heaven at this point, and this also leads to a Nautilus Leona, like you were mentioning, Slayer. You have to be thinking about that on Flash Syndicate, and if you don't grab one of them on the Syndicate side, I assume that you're just like, okay, we're going to give over that bot lane. I mean, if you give over one of the 2 big dogs, you can't really let that through. So there's the Varus hover. If this is locked in, it is seen as a slight counter. Not only that, you lock down that Zyra in team fights, which can be very, very handy. And you go for the Ashe, the other high priority out there. Not exactly the super late game scaling, but enough CC to destroy you. And I'm terrified what they're going to bring to the table.
Yeah, a ton of CC in that bottom lane. Interesting to see that we have teams prioritizing Ashe back in.
That might be Varus mid, by the way. I forgot to mention that might be Varus mid.
That could be Varus mid. It could be Varus top. I've seen a couple of people run the Varus top, like Jack Show, Blade of the Rune King. That's a very flexible pick. As well, I was going to say is Ashe has kind of went back from her support lethality ult bot role back to the marksman role. So that's why I was a bit confused if the Ashe is what they're going to go with. I don't know about this Lulu pick, especially with the Zyra in the jungle. I think Braum pairs really well up here with Jinx. And now that you know that you're the only scaling AD carry threat in this game, I would have just tripled down on a Braum here. I think the tankier supports are a lot better where the items are at, but Lulu, she still serves the same purpose, right? And we now can see the IDA are actually the team that is going to be the scaling threat. We thought it was going to be Flash Syndicate with the Smolder. Nope, they've locked in a lot of early to mid-game agency and immediately are going to have to mark this Jinx and try and deal with her before she gets too strong.
That's what they're aiming for, and that's why you can also see those hard carries getting knocked out. The Trundle can run straight to the backline, deal with you very easily. The Garen can do the exact same, and those are split pushers that can scale up very nicely. On the other side, though, Flash Syndicate are saying slightly the same thing. The Malphite ban, they're understanding that right now IDA have to put some sort of CC lockdown or engage tool inside of that top lane. In mid lane, I don't really see it happening. You want a hard carry in there, or else you actually fall behind. We've seen people try and play mages a lot of the time, and it just doesn't. Unless you're very skilled, mages right now fall a little bit flat in the current meta, and I hate saying that because I'm a Vigar main, but that's why we see ADCs so often. There's the Orin ban. I like this call down. Hey, Flash Syndicate denying all of those top lane options, which might leave us with double bruises in the top lane. Just go at it, see what we can get on that table.
We'll see though. Oh yeah, I was gonna say the Mundo. I was gonna say the Mundo is right now like a terrorizer in the top lane of just like a standalone tank. Not a lot of engage potential like you're talking about, Orbital, but like can really soak up damage, and that's really what I think you need with a Jinx comp. They'll lock the Scion in. You trade a bit of extra sustainability and healing with the Mundo for a little bit more CC and team fight action. So I like the Scion. If this casting gets locked in, this is completely out of left field in my mind. This has got to be a pocket pick if this gets through.
It is, and I'm not sure how well it's going to play because you are leaving mid lane open for IDA, so you are going to have that free counter. I mean, there's still some ADCs that you can run inside. I mean, we've seen Jhin. We just saw Jhin. There it is. The cast and hover was just a little bit of a pump fake. You're going to look at that set. You need a little bit of that stall out behind it, which okay, so it is locked in. I prefer this into the Scion. You're able to kind of bully them out, use them to your own advantage.
Disabled.
Not enabled, everyone. Not enabled. If it is locked in, if it's locked in, we're going to be yelling at someone. Flash Syndicate are going to get flashed a red card, and we are going to laugh in their face later on. Either way, though, the composition from Flash Syndicate makes, I would say, a tiny bit more sense to me. I think IDA, I don't like the fact that they drafted a Lulu in the bottom lane. I got to agree with you. Maybe not the Braum. To me, I still would have liked Engage. I still like Go Forward to match the Scion. But I just don't like the Lulu in the sense you are basically banking on pure skill. The Hui, that's another staple in the mid lane. Outside of ADCs, Hui's been rising to the top.
Yeah, I like the Hui a lot. There's just a ton of range for Flash Syndicate right now. A ton of range slows and CC. You can really pick out.
That's really what it is. You just look down the line, it's annoyances.
It is 100% annoyances. And then you've got a Xin Zhao. The Crescent Guard could just block out all the Jinx damage. So we'll see the Ahri get locked in. I feel like that's a common answer to the Hui. Certainly one of those mages that can still be effective in the current meta. But what this means is if you're going to pick the Ahri, you better be proactive in that once you get that ultimate online, Hui is just going to clear waves constantly. He doesn't have a ton of roamability threat. That's where Ahri really gains the edge over this Hui. So got to watch for that, especially because you gave your coveted R5 pick over to this Ahri if you are IDA.
Yeah, for me, it leaves a lot to be answered for because one, an Ahri to me stands in the same field as assassins. Everyone knows that she's a flexibility between a mage, assassin, and a roamer. That's what an assassin likes to do. Here's the issue. You need help in the mid lane more often than not to get out of the lane. And as Zyra, to my knowledge, has a fast clear, but the ganks are not exactly overwhelming. It's not going to be that brutally crushing gank where you wander in, get a good slow, get a knock up or anything like that. I am sitting here going, you have to win almost on talent alone, which is not bad if you assume that you can do so. You need to be hard pushing the lane against a Hui of all things, looking out for ganks from the Xin Zhao and saying, okay, I can now push out safely, help my Zyra in those instances. It's a lot to ask for of an R5 Ahri.
100%. And, you know, talking on the early games phase of this game, always got to look to those junglers, right? And I do think another point towards Flash Syndicates in my mind, they certainly are going to have, they should have, you know, from draft, obviously the players have to execute correctly, but true lanes with priority. I think the set into the Scion, it's going to be just, you know, you're going to be able to get pushed pretty easily. You're going to win a ton of trades. Set is one of the few champions you really can't 1v1 at any point because of his double punch auto attack basis from really level 1. And then Ash Varus is a bottom lane. While it's not as powerful as some of these newer bottom lanes on our current patch, it still accomplishes the goal of double push with double range. So that's going to allow for not important to really be important in this early game, because he's on a Xin Zhao that doesn't need a full power clear like the Zyra. I expect him to look for early ganks, because Flash Syndicates certainly are going to be in a race against the clock in this game in every lane except mid lane with this Hui for Vietnam Dragon.
I would look in the bot lane and say maybe you can get away with it, especially depending on how the Ashe decides to build. I like the fact that you also mentioned the Ashe straying away from a lot of that, that lethality build, and at this point, that's probably what it's going to be as well. I'd also posit that not important if your lanes end up winning. So say Hui actually gets an advantage in the mid lane, or Set gets an advantage in the top side, you can actually look to roam into the enemy jungle and try and disrupt this Zyra pathing. Granted, you might run into some plants, but if you disrupt a Zyra who is relatively squishy, doesn't really have much going for them in terms of safety mechanics, you can actually put a large hole into the side of IDA, who feel like they are expressly playing with the idea that we can outskill you. So not important, like you mentioned, huge important value, but the rest of the team has plenty of ways to help out and ensure the Xin Zhao is not alone.
Yeah, it's a classic game. It's a classic draft game in League of Legends. We see all the time, Orbital, right? One team looking for more agency in the early game, the other seeing if they can bide their time and wait for 3-item power spikes to come through, because it's obvious, all of us are looking at home, but just to state the obvious, if this Jinx gets the 3 items coming across here for Duck, and you get Joby on this Zyra once she has, the Faded Ashes, Liandry's done, the Rally's slow. People don't forget this, because Zyra was out of the meta even as a support champion for a while, but people that play solo queue in the Pisslow that I'm stuck in know that Zyra's damage, even in support role at a late game stage, is absolutely bonkers. So there are 2 real threats in the scaling department here if we're talking about IDA. It's just racing. It's just, I guess, slowing down the game. We're not playing a sprint here. If we're IDA, we're on a marathon, and Flash Syndicates are trying to speed it up as much as possible.
For the side of IDA, though, that Ahri is going to be your main bridge point. I know we talked about not important on the side of Flash Syndicate, but this Ahri needs to be able to bolster the early game to ensure that Flash Syndicate don't get free roam over the early objectives. They should not be able to get freedom over the Dragon, over the Grubs as easily, and you're hoping to buffer it out. Like I said, normally for an Ahri, you would like jungle support, but at this point, the Ahri is a support mechanism to either help out the bottom lane if things get hairy, or if the Zyra gets invaded on. So that's what I'm really going to be watching for, at least the 2 sides of the coin for both teams.
Yeah, I'm really glad he brought up the bridge champions, because those are the unsung heroes in a lot of these games, because you can't draft all late game scaling, or if a team's good enough, they'll just run you over in the early game and make sure you never get to it. So bridge champions are certainly very helpful. I'm about to employ my own metaphorical bridge here as we are into the spectator delay. So I'm going to throw us over to a quick word from our sponsors, a familiar voice, actually, in fact. Then we'll go into the intermission screen, and we'll be live for a pretty important game number 1 between IDA and Flash Syndicates. Stick right with us. Quick shout out to ProComps, our sponsor and a game changer app for the League community. This isn't just like the other tools. It's your personal draft coach, perfect for both teams and solo players. In fact, you can pair it with any other app you use. ProComps stands out with features like custom champion pools, personalized tier lists, and live draft advice. Think of it as having a virtual coach and a strategy toolkit all in one. They offer real-time champ and ban recommendations. They already have over 200,000 downloads and thousands of daily users just like you. ProComps is user-friendly and totally free. It is a no-brainer to at least give it a go. Download ProComps now, and you'll experience a whole new level of drafting power in your league games. Go to procomps.gg, download it from Overwolf, or click the panel below on our stream. Live from Summoner's Rift, we have our final series of the regular season Aegis Defenders League, week number 5. And for the Flash Syndicate, this game 1 means everything. They have to come up with a sweep up against the undefeated Iridescent Dawn Avengers if they want to snag that first seeded spot out of Bilgewater. Always fun to have the regular season end with some somewhat playoff-like characteristic matchups, and it did not disappoint for this split of the ADL orbital.
No, not at all. These have been very, very spicy. Almost every single division has a team that is currently sitting at the top of tables undefeated in one sense or another. And that to me is very, very fun. It gets very interesting as well as is that actually a lane swap coming out here? That is...
Yeah, wow.
Okay, so
this is not MSI, guys. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
It's not, and this actually requires a lot of help here. And so keep in mind that this is actually going to be IDA that decided for the swap. And I want to see how they decide to do this, because it looks like we are going to get an invade from Flash Syndicate saying, okay, they lane swap, which means there's only 2 members here on this bottom side. We're going to do a late invade and try and catch the Zyre off guard, which we talked about. The Zyre getting caught off guard can be very, very dangerous.
Yeah, well, those little plants are going to help spot out the invade a little bit earlier. Slow going to land only on to GG no rematch, so it will not afford any summoners or deaths, but it does certainly accomplish the goal you were talking about, Orbital, forcing a very wacky clear start. But it does look like GG no rematch is actually going for one of the other selfless Scion techs. He's gonna leash more camps than one. He's helping the Zyra really accelerate.
This is old school's Scion tech, I think, right?
Yeah, it is. It's very old school.
Then you die, I think. You grab like a couple waves or something inside enemy space, and then you basically just disrupt from there. You TP back to the bottom side or top side, and that's what you do. You disrupt the enemy jungle. Now, granted, not important on the other side is trying to hang tight with it as much as possible. So that's going to be the big test here. Just hitting level 2, though, for Joby is a little bit difficult. Of course, Richard on the top end was in a little bit of a spicy situation, did not respect the fact that there was going to be a 2v1 in the top lane. Actually ate a lot of damage. So this is actually going to be really, really painful. As you were mentioning MSI, when Richard is about to get an MSI treatment here.
Yeah, wow, what a hawk shot, by the way. Halfway across the map, Bento spots this out, but spotting out is one thing. Avoiding death is another. This is a 4 versus 1 onto a level 1 set. Just what do you even do here if you're Winnie Witcher except die? And the lane swap accomplishes its goal. First blood over to Duck on this Jinx.
Now, granted, this is first blood. How much do you get out of it? Are they going to play the next few minutes appropriately? Because remember, you got first blood, you get a couple plates, but you need to adjust accordingly, because bot lane, Leon and Benzo have actually identified that. And that's a flat forward. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Winnie Richard turning out some serious damage, forcing double summoners out of chill will kills, and he might just die. One more punch, but he falls flat, and Duck grabs a second for IDA. From hero to the gray screen, Winnie Richard goes.
You know what? I like it. That was a little bit over aggressive, and I mean, I understand where you're coming from. You're probably really frustrated. You got the tower shot off on chill will kills. However, you split your focus. You ran into a little bit of a problem because you didn't have a ward down, and all of a sudden now you're even further behind. If it was just that one death plus the TP back, I think Richard would have been in a good spot. However, the second death caused a lot of problems, and now essentially Rematch has gotten a better lane advantage. This now allows Duck and Wills to head back to that bottom lane.
This was a really heads-up play. I gotta commend IDA here. This is, I mean, this isn't another scoff at the level of play we have in this league, but certainly a high leverage competitive call, because it really did. I know it worked out, so it looks better, but the theoretical approach to this lane swap works, because yes, one, it gives, you know, Duck doesn't have to deal with an Ashe Varus lane early. Hold on, we might actually have some action here on the not important, trying to invade into this red side jungle, but a blast will get him to safety. What I'm trying to say here, oh, never mind, I don't get to say anything. Not important with the re-engage on the chill will kills. There's a mid laner scuffle going on as well. That's a flash, grasping roots from Joby. Flash for flash, Vietnam Drag goes. We're flashing all over the place. Not important, flashing, Blazing can't get away himself. And now everybody's really low health and seeing who rotates over first. It's Leon to come across. Doesn't find much, as the Chompers will keep Barto at bay, or Bento at bay as well. Just summoners. Somehow nobody dies there.
Here's the problem though. Blazing Cake is actually going to have to recall and use that TP to get back because of the snipe that can come out of Vietnam Dragon. It can be very, very dangerous. I was going to talk about the fact that Bento and Lien are actually doing a really good job on the bottom lane, considering that no plates were taken on the top side and only 2 kills. These double ADCs have actually been powering through these tower plates, so that's why we're seeing the adjustment come out here, and that's why there's only about a 500 gold difference. Of course, this can cause some problems as Jovi comes in for a gank.
Duck has low mana, but his auto attack champion Jinx is. Barrier comes out. Duck goes on a killing spree, flashes away in time. Lien could not get the piercing arrow off. And this is now a 3-0 Jinx for Iridescent Dawn Avengers.
I know Flash Syndicate, we said you need to pump things up and get the early game, but honestly, that's a little bit too much. I was going to give him a little bit of credit. I was going to give him a little bit of time, but yeah, that 500, 600, 700 gold lead that's currently residing in their pocket and a 1.1 overall, this is leading into a much more IDA favored situation, and I don't think it's going to change anytime soon.
Yeah, they really need to find advantages in these solo lanes. Luckily, Winnie Richard, even despite the fact he's 0-2, has found the matchup. Somehow, GGO Rematch and Winnie Richard are actually on very similar footing, just outside of those deaths, right? The farm is pretty similar. GGO Rematch actually might get a slight farm lead, but this is the set into Sion matchup. It's just so hard for Sion to really find any threat onto a set, and especially with those haymakers, you can just constantly get up. The trades are still in the favor of Winnie Richard on top of that.
And at this point, because of those weird advantages that have gone around, Not Important has to make a decision. We mentioned, hey, you got to take a look in different directions, and you're actually going to look to the top side. Mid lane, though, we're seeing a trade of ultimates.
Spiraling Despair drop down. Blazing Cake can just push out the Spirit Rush. Good dodge on the first cube for Vietnam Dragon. Can they put their dancing shoes on? Blazing Cake can, but the action keeps rolling as we have a showstopper on a GG rematch. Great flash away, though, and the minions are going to get him the 2v1 outplay. No dive anymore for Not Important.
Oh no, things were pretty rough, then they went to bad, now it's worse, and you know, things are not looking to be in the favor of Flash Syndicates. The early temptations, the early silliness, the early chaos lended itself to the proper win for Rematch, who on the top side denying the aggression out of Win Richard, who is by no doubt furious about the current iteration of this game. You try to make that play happen. Now you got to look at the Dragons for IDA, who you know that Win Richard isn't going to be joining in the fight. You know that Not Important is a little bit behind because you saw him scout out on the top lane, so you get full control over this dragon.
Yeah, with all the lane swap shenanigans of the early game, Dragons and first Grubs, by the way, were just really relatively untouched. I'm curious if we'll actually even get 6 Grubs. With how late I think the Grubs might even get taken. I mean, Not Important isn't even clearing that side of his jungle, so he's not going to get up there anytime soon for the trade. And we actually see Joby going for some aggressive warding in that bot side jungle after taking that dragon for IDA.
Go ahead, lay down that zone because Duck and Chillwell kills are the main carries right now. This is a 3-0 Jinx. You're trying to power up with the farm. I mean, you're what, only about a wave and a half difference, which is fine. For a Jinx that has 3 kills, you are going to be the star, and they needed this Jinx to carry on ahead. You needed to see this Jinx be in a really good position early. So far, you ward up, ensure that you can see Not Important anywhere.
Oh, and they might get Joby's help as well. There's the Crystal Arrow up. Bento has to flash away. Grasping Roots won't land. Chains of Corruption down onto Chillwell kills. Heal and flash away will be enough. The end is out of cooldowns and out of mana, and the Super Mega Death Rocket snipes him home. Bento looking for a trade. We'll find Joby, but Duck is now excited, looking to push for their second kill. We'll find it. Blazing Cake first on the roam lands. A great char to make sure Duck will get out. The flash wind becomes lightning, falls short, but Not Important still finds the shutdown, but will be traded out as Blazing Cake looks to push the tempo further. Kill advantage towards IDA, but big shutdowns in the pocket of Flash Syndicate.
Shutdowns are available, but take a look at who picked up some of those extra kills. Blazing Cake, who was watching from the sidebar, now has 3 kills total under their belt, which puts Vietnam Dragon into a rough situation as well. Not only that, a little bit of the double buff action means that Blazing Cake gets to sustain a lot more. So yes, you got the shutdowns and you close that gap momentarily. The difference is being the solo kill.
Yep, Sprouting Despair, and there's another shutdown. So Flash Syndicate finding gold injections into their mid-jungle duo when they desperately needed it somewhere. The gold lead now still hanging around at that 1,000 mark.
It was about 2K. It was about 2.5. Remember, as you mentioned, the shutdowns are huge. Vietnam Dragon wants to be able to spend that one, but Joby Joby's a little bit worried, of course. There's going to be the first grubs being taken by Not Important. So with this kind of shakeup, the pieces are on the table. Who is going to take that advantage? Who is going to get that extra little bit of gold? And you can see Lian and Bento trying to aim for a little extra with the ultimates.
Oh. Yeah, but now Duck has first item advantage. This Kraken Slayer is going to hit like a truck for any of these trades here. And the grubs will be nice, right? Especially if they can get some mites going, because the one caveat to the IDA lane swap was, you mentioned it earlier, Orbital, that Lian and Bento did the most turret damage. 2's plates still remaining with about 4 minutes to try and capitalize on that. And gold injections is exactly what Flash Syndicate need.
Only downside is, of course, with that gold injection, it's been matched. So it's all these wins and losses on either side, as Duck is able to trade it out to a net 2 for the side of Flash Syndicate. So, you know, with all the mess, take a look at that. Joby is now residing and living in this bottom lane. Over the wall you go.
Well, looking for a grasping roots to land on a Bento. Good dodge there. Shades of Corruption forced out from Lian, though. So an ultimate down just for Joby's showing in that bottom lane. First roam this time is over to Vietnam Dragon if anything else kicks off. There's an arrow right across from bot lane, and it slams Blazing Cake. They have burnt the cake that is this Ari, but she's going to slip on out of the oven with that Spirit Rush. One Severing Bolt might find it, but one charge of the Spirit Rush finds the dodge. No pick there for Flash Syndicate.
Oh, that was very, very close. But now this is going to be the attempt. Not important. Now looking towards that bottom lane once again, because Joby is living on this bottom side. At this point, you made a mansion with a home around. I also like to point out how many wards are currently residing on this bot lane. There are so many across just about both teams. Take a look at that. This is a nasty amount. There were actually about 4 in the top side of Dragon Pit River. So this is like, what, 10 wards all around that have been constantly applied and deleted each time. It is a ridiculous amount of gameplay to invest into this bottom lane.
Yeah, it is a lot. Now, might reaper the rewards as Duck finds Bento. The rocket sends it home. Grasping Roots down just to give Duck some extra bonuses, and a double served up on a silver platter for the main carry of IDA. One will come back onto Vietnam Dragon. Gets a kill on the Blazing Cake, but Jinx is just a problem for Flash Syndicate at this point.
We mentioned the scaling factor, and we mentioned that, hey, the brawl might be important. However, when you get a lead, you're able to do so much. Same with Joby in this mid lane. There ain't no way you try and flash and you're safe. Still, though, Vietnam Dragon hates losing that flash, so the pressure that IDA are currently laying down is just overwhelming thanks to that early game. Rematch, though, might be on the chopping block, as we do see a little bit of look around by Not Important, who is constantly trying to keep up that farm. Is actually about 3 camps down.
Yeah, trying to catch up. Maybe set up for this dive here. I don't think that wave's going to get there, though. And yep, one slam, the axe should shut down. So I guess Not Important is just going to try and steal away camps. Good recognition with how much Joby's been prioritizing this bot side, knowing there should be some camps available. The problem is the big camp that just spawned is that Mountain Dragon, and with Duck's priority in the bot lane, I think this is just a free take for IDA.
I mean, they've had control. The line for the teams has been ever so heavily split, so we know for a fact any dragon that comes down now is like, yeah, this is going the way of this IDA squad. They're going to drag it out. They're going to go ahead and take coverage. The main thing is watching that mid lane. Blazing Cake is looking to try and get an extra kill on Vietnam Dragon, just try and keep him pinned down, make sure the Hui doesn't have any extra glory on those side lanes. So that'll go ahead and be collected. No real issues there. And it's just Flash Syndicate realizing that things might be a little bit out of control at the moment. They're still fighting back, though. Remember, that 1.7 gold lead is a little bit different, but good hold. Vietnam Dragon said, nah, you ain't catching me with that charm.
Nope, you certainly are not. And maybe we get some help coming over here as Bento has swung to try and just get rid of these wards. And glad you pointed out, Orbital. Great call, because the amount of vision clearing that Bento and Not Important have had to do on this bottom side is starting to get pretty ludicrous. There's a good cleanse check onto Duck. Chains Corruption for cleanse. You'll take that trade every single time if you're Lian. And maybe if Bento swings over here, there's a Crystal Arrow. They're trying to get the turret, but the stun lockdown is enough to grant 1,000 gold in the pocket of Lian for that first turret.
That was greedy. At the same time, though, for Duck, you've gotten a lot out of this. With that gold injection, you're still 1.2 up, which also means Blazing Cake can now rotate out if you so wish. You can place Duck in that mid or top side, start breaking down extra towers. So you might be saying it's free. However, that's a snipe. I think that's death. Yeah, the comment's gonna do it. I was not expecting that kill.
Yeah, Vietnam Dragon looking to be the scale match. Hwei certainly can outrange Jinx with a bit more skill expression. Showstopper down here from Winnie Richard, trying to see if he can solo out GG No Rematch, and the turret aggro will not find it. GG No Rematch can walk right on out. There's no flash up for Winnie Richard, and there is no more Hwei on the map as Joby's Zyra damage is really starting to show through.
This OP champion that has reigned supreme at the top, and that Riot has no plans to actually try and hard nerf it. I think they're looking to taper it down, but like AP junglers are, you know, they want to keep him around. To what extent? That's a question. There's Duck though roaming up saying, yo, let's get this set one more time.
Have you heard of the Jinx gank in the top side? Well, now you have in the ADL, and it's going to work. Duck's going to get his kill rewarded. Joby, though, caught in the mid lane. Everybody's just getting caught in this mid game as more kills start flying off the board. But it's once again Flash Syndicate finding answers across the map.
Of course, with the value that's being gotten, I think Lian and Bento are pretty happy about the current situation. Remember, for their squad, they're currently down 1.8. They need to be looking for those picks, and that's why you pick an Ashe all day long. You just look for the ganks, you look for the arrows. And I don't think Bento's actually missed an arrow so far in this game. Maybe one in laning phase, but that's negligible at this point. Really, you just want to look powerful, but that's going to be a gank in the mid lane, and that's a good route, though. Can they turn it around?
Great flash as well to jaw down the charm, and Blazing Cake is going to go down. Bento's going to secure it. GG No Rematch drops on top of that, and here comes the Flash Syndicate picking up more and more kills, and that goal lead is narrowing by the minute.
Wild stuff right now. Lian and Bento, this is a bot lane show at this point, and honestly, I'm leaving it to Flash Syndicate. This way could be that buffer towards the late game if Bento and Lian keep playing like this.
Yeah, that was some really fancy footwork from Lian. Very nice, especially on this. I mean, if we want to talk about the scaling conversation, right? Varus, or well, you know as well as I do, has been in the meta for a very long time, but he's had iterations of that lethality, sort of one-shot mid-game Varus. That's not the reality you get anymore. Is a good old stat check coming out for Vietnam Dragon. There's no way he gets this kill, right? No, maybe a Severing Bolt. He's not going to go for it, but that's the Hwei damage on 1.5 items. Blazing
do it to him. Walk up and see that art. Oh, dang it. Hawkshot. Oh my god, wait. Oh my god, no.
Get it.
Yes.
Oh, you got it.
Yes. The dragon strikes from the skies, baby.
The greed of catching the wave costs Blazing Cake. And I think it might have just nearly got Vietnam Dragon to the 2-item power spike. He'll be just a bit behind it. But at this point, I'm pretty certain Vietnam Dragon's gold is pretty close to that of Duck's. As we can take a look at it. It's still 900 behind, but going to be a problem. We have two scalers on both sides in a game where we thought IDA might just run away with it.
Considering the early game, the whole thing is being able to rein it back and realize that things are not in your control at points, and also to temper the chaos that can be brought down. So all the chaos that's happening here is actually accelerating this gameplay, and it's allowed for extra kills behind. Like, that is something that we should expect every single time that Crystal Arrow is up. With the rocket going sideways, though, this is going to be a tower and a TP because Dragon is now on the board in about 25 seconds. What a chase.
Hold on. Shirelia's charm found there. Blazing Cake gets a pick of his own onto Bento. Duck gets excited. Won't push for any more kills, but this should give the IDA side control of this pit. And another one of their win cons is if they can grab this Ocean Drake, they're going to be in line for a pretty early soul.
I like the fact that also they're just hard pressuring here. Vietnam Dragon cannot actually stay with Rematch around because they don't really have extra ultimates. However, the burn in the tower might be enough. You have to ult out.
Just casual drive on out of there. Unstoppable Onslaught's a hell of a drug for GG No Rematch, but this then again might give control back to Flash Syndicate of this river. Winnie Richard was hanging out in there looking for a pick of his own, and now he can set up advancing wards and no kill, but that might have actually been a massive play to stop the Dragon stacking. Yeah, you can see it, Orbital. IDA want nothing to do with this first Ocean Drake.
Well, they don't have a choice. You have lost 4 ultimates. That's why I was really worried about Rematch losing that there. That's your big engage tool. And also to allow Rematch to be that defensive posture, you lost out on that when you dropped, what was it, 4 ultimates basically in that earlier fight. Yes, you got a kill, but it wasn't Xin Zhao. So well done. I mean, you capitalize on that one for the side of Flash Syndicate. Yes, you're going to lose Herald here, but maybe you can open up the base. Maybe you can get a tower. Maybe you can look for extra as Rematch is about to get ganked with no ultimate.
But this is exactly what a Scion wants. He wants to just absorb pressure, and look what's getting on the top side here. Duck with some top laner-esque recognition of map state. He barreled down on that tier 1 turret, and now because Not Important shows in that bot side, is going to barrel through a tier 2. That's a huge gold injection, and now Flash Syndicate, they have to go for GG no rematch. This is the only play they have on the other side of the map. They'll get the root stun combination down. He will drop, but it's only Vietnam Dragon to answer Shelly crashing into the inhibitor turret.
I mean, if you can match, that's great. Take a look at who else went back. Ari, Blazing Cake is the only one on the other side that's actually been in danger, but what a flash out.
Yep, dodges the fear, gets the autos rolling, and it's a flash match for Vietnam Dragons. So the two big heavyweight bouts, or excuse me, players in the bout, go blow for blow and burn some key summoners.
I think the main thing to think about is Vietnam Dragon has played an immaculate game so far. 5-2-0, got hammered a little bit earlier, has not really had an optimal time in the mid lane. You can see the tower now falling pretty quickly after his the other side was taken down. But the main thing is you denied any damage on that top side inhibitor tower. So your base is pretty much safe. TP on the backside though, this is dangerous.
Oh, there's the Crescent Guard out. Not Important likes his odds.
Watch the way, watch the way.
Popped by 2 little kills in the way. Yeah, on the flank here. No one really observed it. Winnie Richard gets a haymaker down, goes for the showstopper, but can't find a kill just yet. Duck goes on a killing spree, but does get shut down. Blazing King trying to find something on the flank, does not get anything. Vietnam Dragon is just spitting super hot fire all over IDA. Flash Syndicate finally get their first big fight win of the game.
Vietnam Dragon literally TP'd into enemy territory, sat in the brush for 10 seconds, and no one on the side of IDA had an eye exam ready because they had no idea. Duck, Will, Blazing Cake, Joby, every single person got lit up. Rematch could do nothing. I don't think that mistake's going to happen again, but what a breath of fresh air, as for the first time we are seeing an under 500 gold lead for the side of IDA. Yes, the Dragons might be a little bit weird, but for Flash Syndicate, this is the best this game has ever looked.
Like we talked about earlier, when Vietnam Dragon really started ramping up, this way can neutralize a Jinx. Range is certainly an advantage. The CC you bring on top of that to try and catch Duck out, pushing for those extra rockets. It's a really big stat check, and it makes for what should be very fun TV in this game one. Every fight's just going to be watching what Vietnam Dragon and Duck can get done, because they are the win cons for their respective squads.
You are so on edge about that factor, and that's why we're seeing this kind of triple up from the side of IDA. You're running the squishy squad, but as long as you got the movement, you can do things like this, and it is spotted out, but I don't think they're going to be there in time, and even if they are, it's going to be different. What an ult though. Joby tried to throw down to get the empowered plants, but it's not going to work, and you have to run away. So that's another ultimate from the side of IDA that they lose, and now that's a Varus pushing in the mid lane that the rest of Flash Syndicate are going to try and converge on to help out.
Yeah, and they're cutting off the rotates here. Jinx rushing down. They're going to try and burn through Blazing Cake. Will have to Spirit Rush out, and look at Not Important, who's starting to rev up. Gets his first kill, flashes forward onto Joby, tries to get the second lockup. Joby's going to drop. See ya later. Sion's on the wrong side of the fight, surrounded by all the members of the Flash Syndicate. Has to flash himself out over the wall, but eats a separate bolt, and one more win becomes lightning, making a Lien snipe. Will find it, and look where they are, Orbital. That Baron that was the woe of IDA becomes the victory dance of the Flash Syndicates now.
That was the worst possible situation that could have occurred for IDA right now. You went for the Baron, you felt like you were behind on a team that outscales technically. Now, yes, the Ahri may not scale, but the rest of the team can, but you're allowing yourself to get pulled in 3 different directions and letting your squishies take a majority share of the damage. This is what I was talking about. If you don't know how to rein chaos in, it will consume you. They played a chaotic early game. They thought they could continue it through the mid game. They did not recognize the power shift that came from Flash Syndicate, and now they're getting overwhelmed. If they allow these wrong moves to happen, I would say 2 more times, if they lose a majority share of members, they will be completely screwed, and they will not be able to deal with the Varus, with the Hui, with a Xin Zhao who has accumulated a 5-1-4 game score, whereas Joby is still stuck at 1-4-6.
And the only reason their items are close is the camp lead is certainly bigger for Joby, but that's what you expect out of the Zyra. Rocket a little bit too late to the early to party to pick up a steal, and now the Dragons are even at 2 apiece, basically neutralizing that win con. I feel for this game, nobody can grab that Ocean Soul for at least the next 10 minutes at that 34-minute mark.
And this actually benefits, I think, a lot more to the side of Flash Syndicate. You're looking down the lineup, and we talked about the squishies that they have. You don't really have a tank support out here. You have an Ashe, and then you have the Varus, and then the Wei. This actually helps mitigate a lot of those issues, and especially with the Xin Zhao in the set, having extra HP regen means these fights go on a little bit longer than IDA actually want. Another arrow goes out, though. It's going to land. Quick cleanse come out. I saw that coming up, but Chill might be on the chopping block.
Yeah, has to pop the grasping, the wild growth, excuse me, to get non-important off of him. So that's a key cleanse down, a key ultimate down. And like we talked about earlier when we saw Duck cleanse check the CC of the Flash Syndicate bottom lane, those ultimates are going to come up way faster than that cleanse does.
Yep. The other side is Flash Syndicate are not allowing IDA to have their ultimates up in sync. It has always been desynced for them, and it's going to be such a big problem because at some point you're going to say bye to your entire life bar if you do not get your summoner spells, your abilities all in check to be able to compose this front-to-back team fight composition that I feel you really want if you're IDA.
Certainly, that's what they drafted for. It's what they've been playing for this entire time, and
Your
now
flare is up.
the walls are crashing in. Good call out there. We'll see if Bento decides to fire it out. Every target except GG no rematch is a great target for that arrow, and you have the follow-up of the Chains of Corruption. Oh, never mind, as Lian did whiff it. He's going to land, though, the crystal arrow. They have the stun lock onto Duck. He has to burn the flash. Does kite back, but the Crescent Guard blocks the rocket blast. All the autos here from Duck, but they do find the shutdown. Duck gets excited. Flank coming out from Richard. He could be the showstopper. Slams it down. Wild growth out for Chill Will kills, but they're not getting to Duck, and he's the priority target that executes Winnie Richard. Now it's Blazing Cake that's unlocked, trying to rush down the Vietnam Dragon that gets slain. And right when you thought IDA were crumbling, they find a massive fight win with their health bars blinking.
That is IDA finding what Flash Syndicate have been finding all along. A mistake occurred. A big part about that, Lean, who I apologize for saying Lien the entire time, I believe it's just Lean jumped forward with that the corrupted chains and just went, hey, the chain of corruption said, hey, I'm gonna throw it out. I miss. Cool. And then Bento threw out the arrow. It was not a long range arrow. It was still on, I believe, the 1.5 second tick instead of the 3.0 tick on that stun. So you chase forward. You weren't able to get on the Jinx in time. Great job by Will. And then they made the mistake of gambling for a bit more. They got greedy. They wanted that Jinx kill, and they paid for it. Both teams now realizing if you make a mistake, if you jump forward too far, you will lose. That is how volatile this game currently is, and it has to be identified for the upcoming Dragon. Yes, it might not be Soul, but it is Soul Point, and that is one that I don't think either team wants to worry about.
The one caveat, the one silver lining here for Flash Syndicate, they do also get the flash off of Duck there, and they have flash available on a lot of their engage tools. Not important, and Winnie Richard will be able to flash forward and maybe just try and grab Duck by the horns and throw them back into this team. So Duck still has to play even more careful than he was allowed to in the last couple of minutes here. Still cruising towards a fourth item on this just monster Jinx that I don't believe is far away. He's got all the components for the LDR that's coming soon.
Yeah, that is a big part. I'm actually looking at Will right now. I really want to see that Crucible main. I think that's what they're building right now. I think those are the components. I don't remember off the top of my head, but you need a Crucible at this point. You have to recognize that the cleanse is not enough. I'm so sorry. That cleanse is gonna do like none all. You're draining the bottom of the barrel right now with that cleanse. You have to get an extra piece for Duck if you want Duck to frontline at this point, and that's kind of how they're playing right now. Keep Duck in the front line, use him as bait, and rely on the mechanics. But there's another arrow. Are you kidding me?
The lockdown with the Chains of Corruption. Will the wild growth be enough? Duck is kiting back. The roots from Joey are going to be big enough. Duck survives once more, and the kill's picked up by IDA. No, get excited for Jinx, but most importantly, Duck is still up and standing, and now River Control going over to Iridescent Dawn. Avengers and Blazing Cake and Joe find another pick on the Vietnam Dragon. The big scale threat down for the Flash Syndicate.
IDA are finding a miracle, it feels like. Once again, Jinx almost gets caught out, and then the following issues. Blazing Cake, who has been locked down for a majority share of the early mid, is now allowed to free roam. Found the pick on Wei. The Painter paints his last, and now you can break this tower. Look at the Dragon, and it's going to be uncontested. As not important, it's just going to respawn as soon as the Dragon spawns.
We are going to reach 30 minutes orbital in our first game, and the gold lead is not going to be more than 1,000 towards either side. No team with a soul. This is where real fun League of Legends comes, because despite that big fight win for IDA, they've crawled back into this neutral game, the big statement there, it's still a neutral game. There's still a world where either team can win at this point.
It is one of those rare moments that you don't see a winner at the end of it, and I really, really like that. It makes it difficult, and I'm really keeping my eyes on Bento and Will. These are the two that I'm watching. The reason for that is both of them have key playmaking abilities. Duck, if Duck gets caught out without Will, you're dead. Dead to rights, even with Cleanse, I think. Bento needs to hit a priority target, cannot stand on the front lines, cannot look to catch one of the frontliners out with an arrow. You need to hit that crystal arrow on the priority target. There's the bell that we were talking about. Will is able to pick it up. I mentioned that before. That's another one that you got to watch for, and you have to identify. But Rematch might have stepped up a little bit too far.
Ooh,
Flash in front.
Flashes to stop the unstoppable onslaught, and that might get them the pick. Wild Growth used on the tank. GG no rematch. Will drop off, but can't Blazing Cake find a turn? Gets a good charm on non-porn. Trying to kite back. Winnie Richard has the haymaker. Gonna drop it and fall, but look how much damage it pushes out. Blazing Cake still wants to go excited, with Duck now getting excited as well. Flash away by the side of Flash Syndicate, and both top laners are gonna drop. Both main tanks gonna drop here with Baron in the eye of both beholders.
This is getting out there. Joby gets caught now.
Yep, there's the Severing Bolt down. Can they push enough damage through? No, the Zanyas with the grasping roots and the flash away from the Severing Bolt. Joby just turned a pick on its head, and it might unlock IDA to go for the Baron.
That was the third item, Zanyas, that Joby was able to pick up. You baited out, and now you get a chase for this. However, it's still so dangerous because you're all squishy. You don't have your tank.
At 3 versus 2, this is where Hoi can thrive. He just outranges everybody on IDA's comp. GG will rematch back up, and he's going to TP back in. He's going to say, I'm going to be the stabilizer. The tank's back here, boys. Let's hop on onto the Nash.
There ain't no way it's stolen this time around. Outside of a random stray bolt from the sky, I don't see it being stolen away here. Very nice job.
Oh my God.
Might lose a single member, but Blazing Cake is safe. And this is where we get to breathe for a slight moment. This is where both teams get to arrive as Blazing Cake eats the residual instead of the main, so does not go down. Very, very lucky about that one. But I am watching Slayer. I am watching this go down. We have had a breakneck pace of a game, almost 41 kills in 32 minutes. These teams are not letting up, but they need to. They need to assess this if they want to make it clean. Now, if their whole goal is to not make it clean and just get a dub, send it. But if they want it clean, if they want it nice and pretty, in about 2.5 minutes, that might be the play. Or this siege needs to be spot on from IDA.
I hope IDA just slows down and play clean like you're talking about, Orbital, because if they win this game, they are the top seed in Bilgewater. They don't have to play for the rest of the series. So let's play our cleanest League of Legends in game 1. I know that goes against status quo of the ADL. As Bento might get picked out here. The Rocket does half of his HP bar. That Squishy Ash is gone, and they have a root down on a Vietnam Dragon as well. Great pick by Joby on top of that. The main carry down for Flash Syndicate once more, and now this siege might just ramp into a full-on base take.
It should be. That's game over. You don't have an Ash ultimate. That's 30 seconds left. There is no way to really finish it off. I mean, I don't know what you're doing right there, and now you leave your entire base open. This is just clean up.
Oh, and yeah, Duck is going to clean him up. Oh, Crescent Guard down. Winnie Richards trying to make a play with his haymaker. Ton of damage, but no kills, and Duck is the healthiest one. Flashes forward for the first kill, but maybe went a little too far. Barely not going to die to non-port. Gets a huge shield again from his support. Turn going to fall. Duck going to blast out of there, but IDA certainly not clean on the siege take, and maybe open the door here for Flash Syndicate once again.
Bento is allowed to be eaten again. That is what has happened there. When Richard made the play of the game to save it for the moment, went ahead, jumped forward, flash to catch 3 with a nasty right hook, and you deny them a finisher. Yes, you lost the inhibitor tower. It's not inhib. That's the best scenario that Flash Syndicate could have had. Here's the thing. I am very frustrated at Bento so far. I mentioned that I'm watching Bento like a hawk. You need that crystal arrow pretty much every time. You walked into the bush, saw the Scion coming, walked away, walked back in, and said that's going to be my priority. You cannot be doing that at this stage of the game. Neither can Not Important be standing in front. What a jump to save your life, by the way.
Not blind, by the way, so he doesn't even care. He gets the scuttle as well to get all the vision down, but the rest of IDA is coming across. Not Important is going to get polymorph, drop the Crescent Guard. Can't Flash Syndicate get here in time. It is Vietnam Dragon first, but he's dropping all of his damage onto GG No Rematch, who will happily gobble it all up, and they have a catch on the way. Winnie Richards goes back in, but doesn't get the haymaker down in time. One trade back onto Blazing Cake, but it's a man advantage with jungler up for IDA as they look to grab the Ocean Soul.
They should have it. I mean, they see where everyone else is coming from. No real ultimates on the other side. And yeah, you're going to call down the ultimate. This is just clean them up if you can.
Yep, no rematch though. Does get put into no man's land. Good amount of damage for Vietnam Dragon and Bento, but Duck gets excited off that Drake take. Can't push any further though as Vietnam Dragon is holding him at bay. Lean is very, very low and should get surrounded. Vietnam Dragon, you just got to let him die. You are the more important member to stand up, and he will. Duck doesn't get excited enough to come chase down Vietnam Dragon, who is still trying to kite back with his kit, and he will be able to get to safety. The headline though, Ocean Soul in the hands of Iridescent Dawn Avengers.
The Avengers are for sure avenging right now. Every single death that they've gotten, they've avenged. They've gotten the better of them, but still, extremely messy game. I mentioned that this could happen. They're just going to kind of play without abandon, which I appreciate, but still. I was hoping to see a very clean game, but I'm also loving the fact that we are getting just hyper aggressiveness. And if they bring this into the playoffs, both squads would be hilarious to watch against some of the others. You know, if you watch this type of gameplay and you like it, this is what kind of brain off moments feel like when you're trying to push the tempo. And at this point, that's the only time I'll ever say that, because we are at 36 minutes and the teams have been playing like this is all early game still. We can die, it's no worries. We don't have 40-second death timers on us.
And luckily for all you guys that are hoping to get this action in playoffs, both these teams are locked into playoffs.
Yes.
So this is a pure seeding matchup. You will see this play style in the ADL playoffs sooner rather than later. It's just so fun to me that the gold lead this entire game, I don't think it's ever gone past 2,000 or maybe 2.5 in that early game, but you rarely see that in a game of League of Legends, especially at this level.
Well, you with this much blood, generally you don't see it either. At some point, a team kind of starts breaking out in a win after about 3 or 4 team fights, and you see it kind of mold. And especially with the mistakes that have occurred, I've expected larger punishments, but both teams are making these unfortunate errors. You know, not important stepping up, getting caught out, Bento doing the same, and then Blazing Cake on the other side just can't really finish it off. These are just the little pieces of the puzzle that keep getting taken, and both teams are capitalizing. Like, if we're talking about reactionary value, both teams are doing so. With this current setup, though, rematch might be in a dangerous spot, as Baron might be on the cards, but look at this. This is a full-on chase.
They're 5-manning GG no rematch. They're going to kill him off.
It's a base race.
Yeah, they're going to go for the inhibitor. Duck is immediately sprinting down mid lane, but now they're channeling the recalls. They've got IDA in a bit of a stunner, and that makes the Flash Syndicate can be the first ones to grab an inhibitor. What a call from the squad at 37 minutes with Baron available on the other side. Wait, Duck canceled his recall. He wants to make sure it's a trade of inhibitors, but now he's too scared. He can't die.
You can't, because if you die, you lose Baron, like automatically. The only thing keeping him in check is the ability to ramp up a team fight. Oh, Joby almost got caught. What a prediction by Bento. But you get this catch. Maybe?
Oh.
No.
Yeah, the grasping roots, the slows from the Rallies keep Joby safe. Duck gonna throw out a rocket as well. Chunk damage down.
Quarter of his HP. Holy crap.
Oh.
Those rockets hurt, by the way. Those ultimates hurt, and that's why this chase is currently going on, because when Richard can't step up, doesn't have flash just yet, and Vietnam Dragon has to chase away to clear this way. That's a TP coming in from the backline.
Oh, big boy Scion, GG no rematch, trying to cut off the flank. We'll take the inhibitor. What a catch on the Vietnam Dragon. The flash charm of dreams for Blazing Cake. Now Duck is unleashed. Not important, trying to flash onto him to try and see if he can get enough damage through, but Duck is far too strong to lose a 1v1. Here comes Iridescent Dawn Avengers. They avenge the woes of game number 1 and are going to punch their ticket to the playoffs as the top seed of Bilgewater.
You know what? I talked about it. I said, hey, it looks messy, it looked chaotic, and I might have gotten on some people for getting caught face checking. But at the end of the day, the teams played like I hoped. Played it crazy, played it stylish, and played it to the very end.
Played to the very end, indeed. That one goes nearly 39 minutes and what feels like enough to encapsulate our broadcast on the ADL. I mean, if one game could do the justice of a best of 3, this one certainly did with the stakes, the back and forth of that game number 1, and just everything about it was all encompassing for a really good show, but a show that does kind of damper the rest of this series. Flash Syndicates are now locked in to the 2 seed in Bilgewater.
Yes, they are. And granted, you have a chance. I mean, we've seen 2 seeds come out like crazy. I mean, T1 just locked in 3rd place, I think, in their division of the summer split. So, I mean, like, there are teams that obviously in the lower seeds can do crazy work inside of the playoffs. And that's what I'm excited for, because you just went toe to toe, one of best, and you did it while getting cheese in the early game. That Scion cheese was immaculate by IDA. That could have thrown everyone for a loop. And honestly, Win Richard did not take it very well. It was Lean and Bento that basically engaged the whole early to mid, brought it back in a comfortable position to even make that game close.
Yeah, well, game was close, but it went the way of IDA. That was just game 1, folks, like I alluded to just a bit ago. So we are going to go to a much-deserved break for myself and Orbital, and hopefully the players after that game 1. Game 2, we'll have side selection for the Flash Syndicate as they just play for fun here. We'll see if we get some fun, goofy drafts, but the draft nonetheless will be back for you guys in just a couple of minutes. Welcome back, everybody, to week 5 of the Aegis Defenders League, and I would like to apologize for misleading you on our storylines. I can't do math. I'm a silly caster. We actually do still have playoff implications going on here as a 2-1 for Flash Syndicate with the game score. The fact that if they win one, IDA go down one, and they gain one, it really adds effect to the game's difference. So Flash Syndicate are still in it for the top seed here. IDA still have to play fully seriously, I hope. Maybe not fully seriously with a 1-0 lead, but you get the point, Orbital.
Yeah, and that's the problem here, because that still means that we could get another bonkers game like that one. We're already into the draft phase. As you can see, IDA are just like, yeah, screw it, we'll do everything the same, but we'll take away your Ash. Whereas on the other side, the Jinx is denied, and so that is the spot that we're really going to be at. I'm terrified to see what actually comes out from the Flash Syndicate side, as they themselves are like, okay, well, what else can we do here?
Yeah, so IDA on the blue side, they'll pick the Ash. Marksman Ash, I think this is. I hope it is. I think Ash right now is better as a marksman, and especially in a B1 spot, should be that. Flash Syndicate, though, looking like they want to lock in the Ziggs. This is a fun flex pick on the R1 turn, because not only can you flex it between mid and bot, even if you send it mid, there's not a ton of ways to punish Ziggs. I feel like he's a pretty safe mid lane mage compared to the rest.
He can be, but you know, if you find a Ziggs like that played like game 1 played, then you could probably find a couple of kills, you know, here and there. I would honestly see that being matched in the bottom lane, personally, just because it's a longer range chance, and early on Ash doesn't have much but poke. You are not going to be auto trading as much, so you match poke with poke, and Ziggs tends to have a little bit more of that. So that's what I would really look for. I like Flash Syndicate though, going for a little bit more hard terms in you know, kind of CCing down. You go for the J4. This is a more tried and true combo. I'd love to see some follow-up behind that J4 though, you know, get a little bit silly with it if you want to go for the Orianna in the mid lane. I know that's double AP, not the greatest, but you want to get messy with it.
Yeah, I think you could get away with an AD mid laner still if you maybe go for like a Rumble top. Rumble, that's always the, in my head, when I think Cataclysm, I think Rumble. I think Cataclysm Equalizer. So maybe if we see a Rumble pick come out, there's still a lot of flexibility. IDA, though, are going to grab what got them, you know, was actually sneakily very powerful to the end of that game. I think Joby really improved as that game went on, from getting picked off early to finding some really good lockdown. I don't think IDA win that game 1 late without Joby making sure Duck doesn't die by dropping the entire set of roots that possibly could go around Summer's Rift at the end of that one. Seraphine, though, that would be a really off-the-wall pick here. Not a lot of play in the current meta, but will for IDA in this one.
It's a deterrent piece. Instead of going for something like a Leona, Braum, or anything like that, or even a Milio, which I think Milio is a little bit outside. If you enjoy Seraphine, the Encore can be a great deterrent piece. Granted, you're triple squishy again, so this is the idea that Flash Syndicate should be seeing. And there's the Braum that you kind of were mentioning earlier. However, we get it in game number 2. You can block it off, and now it's a game of checkers. Who's blocking who before who can jump over the piece in front. This is going to be a very big tug of war, and if it's as bloody as before, Flash Syndicate, I don't think are going to actually enjoy it as much. They need to draft a little bit more damage on their side. I'm expecting ADCs to come out here, but IDA, I would almost expect a double ADC ban. Instead, send that straight through the roof, deny a lot of attempts from Flash Syndicate to build up extra damage in the early to mid, and then see what you can do from there.
See what you can do, indeed. Maybe Chillo Kills is also just an Enchanter player, not an engaged support player. Could be that going on as well. See into the second phase bans here. Yeah, so this is what I was thinking might happen. I think Iridescent, Dawn, Avengers are expecting the Ziggs in the bot lane, so they are banning away AD mid laners, because the usual combo right now is like, oh, AP in the jungle, so I can go AD mid. Well, you can also just go AP in the AD carry slot and then go AD mid lane. I like that Corki ban a lot. I wouldn't hate a Yone ban, because I think Yone works well with the Cataclysm if you want to go for that, but I would expect an AD mid laner from Flash Syndicate.
The other side of it is the top lane was actually very, very powerful from previous game. Keep in mind when Richard, you know, went kind of hard in that scenario, tried their best to kind of fight their way out of the ground, but
no way. I hate this champion.
I'm cutting this off, because if this is actually locked in, this is silly from Flash Syndicate. Ain't no way.
It doesn't fit what they want to do.
This would be an ego pick or just a pure comfort pick. That makes more sense. That makes a lot more sense. So keep it even, keep it, you know, the same inside of the meta. Play that Tristana. Yes, it got nerfed a little bit. It's dropped down in prio. I want to say inside of A+ tier instead of, you know, S tier that it was previously. And it gets the range behind it. So I like the setup right now.
Blinding a Renekton 2. IDA know that they have the mid lane counter pick. I still think this is Tristana mid. I think this is Vietnam Dragon on Tristana. Haha, very funny. Renekton's a fine one to blind. I think they don't have a pure tank on this comp, so maybe we'll see a more tanky pick. The Poppy. Okay, Poppy is a weird one to blind for me, but definitely still fills the role of somewhat tanky and hard to burn through.
I mean, you got double jumping. You got the J4 and the Tristana. You can knock both of them out. True. That really deters the Tristana from coming in. And granted, that sets up what IDA had last time, which is a very defensive setup. You mentioned it before. It is extremely defensive pressure with that Zyra. And now you have the Lucian as well. Dive ability in front if this is locked in. Now, granted, it's all DPS. That should scare both of us right now, or anyone, really. However, this is a Lucian in the bot lane with the Ashe support and the Seraphine mid. This would also make sense in the kind of swap around. It would hold with what I think IDA kind of assumed, but for Flash Syndicate, they're the ones this time without the Ashe behind it and seeing it on the other side, most likely going in that support role. You're saying, okay, we need team fight. Once again, we need that ability to go in. There's your dive buddy if you so wish. Grab that Malphite that was banned in game number 1. Send it on the squishies. I do not want to see AP Malphite. Do not give me AP Malphite. Give me the rock with a crap ton of armor.
Yeah, we'll see Winnie Richards. Hey, I mean, he had fun diving with those showstoppers. Now he could dive with somebody that won't get deleted as he jumps into the entire enemy team. Does set up for a pretty fun wombo. Not the traditional one that I like to see, like with a Rumble in the Cataclysm, but you throw together the Unstoppable Force into a Cataclysm with an Inferno Bomb coming all the way over top, and that is a ton of damage nonetheless for Flash Syndicate. I'm just excited for this mid lane matchup. I'm pretty certain this is about to be a Lucian Tristana mid lane matchup, if I'm not mistaken. We'll figure it out once we get to the client side draft. We get to see the client side draft.
Yeah, I'm really, I want to see IDA pull this out, mostly just to try and throw a little bit of a wrench in the plan. I do want to see Ashe support, take it away from Flash Syndicate, take that Ashe support, send Seraphine in the mid lane just to be an annoyance, and or, you know, mix it around. You know, you have that Ashe ADC and the Seraphine and all that stuff, but I think it'd be very silly. I think it'd be very, very fun to watch some of these pieces go through and where they decide to slot them in, mostly because it is going to try and put a lot of pressure on Flash Syndicate to also bring the right kind of mentality to the job. You know, are we going to focus mid? Are we going to focus bot? Where are we going to really lay a lot of our pieces of the pie?
Well, we're on to the client side giraffe, so we can start to put together some of these puzzle pieces if these guys would speed through their bans. Guys, we know what you're banning. It's all right. All right, so now we'll get an idea of what these two comps are coming together. I guess we already know where the top lane matchups are actually going to be, so there's no surprise there.
It's Blazing Cake.
Yeah, it is.
That's what we're actually just waiting for right now.
Or I mean, I guess you could throw the Zyra into the support role too. Nope, Joby will lock it in. All right, so Blazing Cake's on the Lucian, so that means that we will have. Yeah, I'm waiting for both mid laners to lock in their champions. I'm gonna be real, because Vietnam. All right, yeah. So Lucian, Tristana mid. It is Ziggs in the bottom lane for Flash Syndicate. All right. So at least I still got my chops deciphering teams drafts. That's a good plus.
Yeah, I like to go for the crazy. I want to see Silly in the bottom lane. I love seeing some wild stuff. So, you know, I also just suck at knowing what drafts come out of these two teams in particular, considering game number 1. So I gave up on that one. I feel like this is going to be another mid lane game. Blazing Cake did not have the greatest early game. This time around has the ability to duel out. I mean, Tristana's range is fairly short. Yes, you get, you know, level 3, you have the satchel, you get the explosive and everything, but Lucian just, the raw output in the early can do so much work. So honestly, I'm seeing a lot of focus in this mid lane this time around. I don't see any silly level 1 shenanigans like we saw in game number 1, mostly because the Scion's out of the game. Granted, you can still do some work with the Poppy. I mean, the pin against the wall is great, but I don't know if you actually want to sacrifice the Poppy as much as you did in game number 1.
Yeah, I like the Poppy to cancel some of those dashes, but I do still think it's a little bit odd given everything else with the composition. But I've seen a ton of Poppy top lane players that make games unplayable from lane.
Yes.
So GG no rematch. I'd like to think that's why he's gone with the Poppy. He's very comfortable on that champion nonetheless. I love the points made about mid lane. You don't always see it with competitive drafts, but this is about as much of a pure skill lane that I can think of. Both Lucian and Tristana have dashes, because Tristana's is a dash, right? We're categorizing them all together here, but that are very integral to their ability to not only find all-in kills, but survive any trade. So the dashes, Lucian dash and Tristana dash, are really critical to this matchup because, like you mentioned, early game Tristana is about the same range, maybe a little bit more than Lucian, and they both are all about bursting down their opponents before they can even react.
I want to see Blazing Cake have a really good game this time around. Also, I'm going to be watching Lean in Bento this time around. You're now put back in a standard lane. You're not going to be given that freedom to hard push like you saw before. At the same time, you're on drastically different style champions. So the last time you had pretty much all the CC in the books for yourselves. You can make plays as a duo with the Chain of Corruption plus the Crystal Arrow. This time around, you're the follow-up and you're the safety. The Braum Glacial Fissure can do some work, but the Ziggs primarily poke. You're not the main damage DPS. You are the poke. You are keeping them away. You are dealing DPS before the team fight breaks out. And then afterwards, you can follow up. How Flash Syndicate are able to play around this with a lot more emphasis on Vietnam Dragon, I can see it working. I just need to see it in practice.
Just need to see it in live, full on Summoner's Rift. We'll get to see that pretty soon here. We are just getting into the spectator lane, so we're going to take a short intermission, and we'll go live from Summoner's Rift. This time, seeding is actually on the line. I am not deceiving you. If IDA come out on top to take the series, they are the top seed from Bilgewater. But if Flash Syndicate pull off a Game 2 win after Game 1 was as close as it can get, we'll go to a do-or-die Game 3 with more than just the series on the line. For now, though, we'll not get too ahead of ourselves. Intermission coming your guys' way. Game 2, not too far after.
Did you go back into your mind, down into your hole? And I'm not invited, I already know. I'm standing right in front of you. Say something, won't you say something, baby? You don't look at me, you see through. We're falling from the skies. Yeah, we're falling.
The Bilgewater Group still up for grabs as the regular season nears its dramatic conclusion. Iridescent Dawn Avengers on your blue side, looking to lock up a top seed as Flash Syndicates look to shock our end of the regular season with a win of their own. Fun draft regardless, especially with the mid lane matchup we're talking about, but no real level 1 shenanigans except a little flag drop under the head of Joby.
This feels like a much more standard draft cycle. Even though we have double ADC and all that, this feels very standard across the board. You take a look down IDA's side, you got a lot of power picks, the Lucian, the Ashe. Seraphine's kind of tossed in there, but the Zyra, these are all very powerful in the current meta, so I don't want to jostle it too much. Honestly, I'm more looking at the other side on Flash Syndicate. You're running triple teleport in an attempt to offset some of the difficulties you might have in the early moments. This can hurt a little bit, and the only reason I'm saying that is you lose a lot of defensibility. Usually you might want to run something like a barrier, maybe like a cleanse, you know, get a little bit in there. However, it does make sense on a Ziggs. You generally want to get that good back timer with it just on a mid. I mean, obviously you're going to run TP, so I'm just very interested to watch this bot lane that has pretty much no kill summoners and no safety summoners except for that heal.
Certainly an interesting combination of summoners, especially whenever you have a Ziggs in the bottom lane with that teleport for Lean. They are wary of a bit of level 1 shenanigans. The volley's strength is very powerful, plus the double tap of Seraphine, like you just saw Lean eat. Both junglers going to be starting their top sides and clearing down, so this may be the site of the first blood, the way the junglers are pathing.
At the same time, mid lane's going to get a little bit spicy as well, but I think that's a little bit of damage more on Blazing Cake, as you can see the auto attack trade is just keeping them at super low on either end. What a dash forward though.
Flash for flash, double autos. First blood over to Blazing Cake, who is looking to push IDA over the edge.
Dang. That hurts. You know that Vietnam Dragon was hoping that didn't happen, but you just didn't respect the extra dash behind.
We talked about it though, right, Orbital? The power of those dashes. And we finally saw that volatile lane.
Right.
It's the first kill.
Hurts. This is why Lucian is so strong. It's just OP, it feels like. So very, very fun either way. Right now, though, that does give Blazing Cake a large extensive lead, and it's good for a Lucian player and someone that does want to get ahead early, help out in that roam potential. This is going to go over very well. Now, it'll only be a little bit of time to see if Vietnam Dragon says, yo, that was a simple mistake and it will not happen again, or if this is going to be a continuous piece of the puzzle. Oh, no stun against the wall.
Yeah, no stun, but he's just trying to distract this giant wave that Winnie Richards has to catch. We also see Joby full clearing down. He talked about showing up in the bottom lane, but his bottom lane had pushed, so he just looked for a hover, potential lane gank, and now is going to take his Scuttle Crab as both junglers will trade camps, respectively.
I think the big thing as well is the fact that Joby has good idea and indication of where not important is, but not important. You can see the pings of, are they down on the bot side? Are they in the top side? Where are they currently at? Now being spotted inside that mid, but it's a little bit slower on that value. So Duck and Chill will kills continue to get this massive harass off, and this is what I was mentioning before. One, Ashe and Seraphine has disgusting poke, and two, Ziggs early doesn't really have much power behind it. So this is going to be a very interesting setup, as you're basically just trying to clear the wave as fast as possible and ensure that the tower doesn't lose too many plates.
All true, but if I learned anything from game one, it's that Flash Syndicate will fall behind early, and it might not matter because we'll go straight to a bloodfest. So we are on track, maybe not to the magnitude of game one with the lane swaps, but in the same path that game one held us in.
Did Lean run like quintuple pots?
Oh my god, Lean, please. Well, he must have, because he has a pot going right now. I'm rattled. What could you purchase not to have a starting item?
Did he run quintuple pots knowing that he was gonna get poked out, and then he can recall and at least pick up his his tier? No.
No,
So
he's
he-
rushing Lost Chapter.
So he quintupled. He now, I want to say he quintupled. I don't know how many potions he bought. However, he went pretty hard on it. Went a Lost Chapter just outright. So he has a power spike over Duck. That is a wild call.
Yeah, I've never seen that. I get it now with the teleport advantage, right? That's just an advantage that you won't have. It won't be matched in the bottom lane. But still weird to not see a Doran's item. Great satchel charge on the throw. Duck to the side here. Chill Will kills is very low. Not important. Looking for the double flag drag. Flashes to get the knock-up on a Chill Will kills. But Duck and Chill Will kills will flash themselves back to safety. All 4 summoners for the IDA bottom lane completed to try and make sure they won't fall. But Joby looking for the turn on to Bento, but he's barely going to make it a trade as he goes for the lone hero play.
That was a wild flash, but I respected Joby. You were like, yo, I can't let not important be important this time around. Got to make the play. Made it. Still in a little bit of a difficult spot right now. Lean being able to have that Lost Chapter means you can stay around here pretty easily. And if, oh, no, you got poked out, so you're seen. But Duck is just going to try and delay the backs as much as possible, keep them down here, and just be annoying. Either way, very nice job by Not Important to get there fairly early.
Certainly. Could have been a lot bigger for Joby if he didn't throw everything to the wall to make sure to grab that trade or make sure to grab that kill, but still IDA in the driver's seat by this point in. Also seeing this Poppy Malphite matchup maybe sway a little bit more towards Winnie Richard with those double Ruby Crystals done, but it definitely feels like GG No Rematch understands how to play Poppy into just about anybody.
Well, I mean, you also got, I want to say, one of the fairer matchups as well. Like, you're pretty happy about a Malphite all the time. It's just, hey, I can farm grass procs all day long and not worry about it. Like, you are going to have a fair bit of CS. You're going to be able to hang on. It's really just how long can you keep the Malphite in this top lane, and can you properly deny his TPs?
Oh, wow. Ultimate's coming out here. Buster shot for Coling. It's actually Blazing Cake that walks away a lot more injured. Luckily, the mid lane prio won't come online in time for the Flash Syndicate to try and contest these grubs. Power of Zyra in the jungle as she deletes those 3 grubs with ease. All 3 secured in the name of IDA.
They're going to be real happy. This gold lead that's slowly being brought up. We mentioned the difference of, I think only like 2.5 was the largest in game number 1. This time around, we're not seeing that balloon out of control like we saw because of the first 2 kills. Instead, it's that slow increase. This is much more within standard of a regular League of Legends game. Of course, Duck for themselves is looking a little bit awry, but I'm very curious if we're going to see that slowly go from about 900 out to the 1.2, 1.3 section as we see a lane swap come out here.
Yeah, it looks like they just recognized tempo with the fact that GG No Rematch had roamed down to help with the grubs. Now can push a wave in, recall, and I believe just path straight back up to top lane. Yeah, I mean, another really fun kind of advanced macro decision coming out. Second time we've seen that from IDA is they were the one to reinforce the lane swap. That was a blown flag and drag by Not Important. He still gets the Cataclysm down, and Duck is flashless. It's a good setup by the jungler Flash Syndicate to get Lean his first kill.
I like the fact that Not Important is like, it doesn't matter that I missed my flag and drag. I still got the ultimate and you're not going anywhere. So, you know, makes it easy. At the current moment, that does also give Dragon over, which is an Infernal. Very, very big difference here. Powerful one to have at the start. I'm really hoping for a Hex Tech Soul to play for, which would be very, very fun.
Ooh,
gets very silly, gets very, very annoying. And I always feel whenever you see at least one of the aggressive dragons, more are soon to follow.
Well, we'll see if that holds up, as both top laners are certainly getting very aggressive. A ton of grass procs traded. I think I counted 5.
Yeah.
First little skirmish. Nobody committing ults yet. Oh, I guess GG No Rematch did use that Keeper's Verdict.
Oh, wow. 17 stacks already. That's not bad, I would say. What's Win Richard at? He's running grass as well. Let's see what Winnie Richard is at.
Oh, 6. That's a lot less.
That hurts. That hurts.
Does GG No Rematch have enough for the solo? Winnie Richard has that unstoppable force if he
That's why.
it. Oh my gosh.
I forgot that the buckle actually procs. It's considered an auto attack, so it procs on hits. That's why the grass proc has been so So annoying. Also, the reason why I said O and Sadness was because Hextech Dragon is currently up. However, that's a flash coming out. Wow, very ambitious.
2 flashes for 1 right there. Dux is that valuable. Hop in from Vietnam Dragon. See if we get the Tristana burst down, but Blazing Cake has Joby close by. The culling out and a flash committed at the last second. One more shot of that bursting light would have knocked down Vietnam Dragon.
Yeah, the culling is so dangerous if given the right opportunity, but this now gives massive advantage over the Vietnam Dragon. You are going to be able to TP back and be just fine, but the arrow going wide by Duck, just looking for a chance at a kill, and the follow-up with the encore behind. Oh, but that's the poke. Holy moly.
Another flash down. Heal committed there by Bento to keep Leon up. Is some good sustain with Chill Will kills his kit on that Seraphine, so I believe both will be able to stick around, especially since Lean does not have the Mega Inferno Bomb up.
Ooh. This is getting spicy once again. Not spicy like in game number 1, but spicy like that.
Double encore charm though. Can he hold the shield up and block for Leon? That's a question for Bento. He cannot. It will be a 2 versus 1 with the Ignite. Not getting it done. So an advantage to the Flash Syndicate bottom lane.
And making sure that you get at least 1 kill on that Ziggs is very nice. 2, 1, and 2 now puts you a step above Duck, and it means that Luden's companion will be dishing out so much damage, but Blazing Cake now in the mid lane might be in trouble.
Yeah, he does have flash. I think he's gonna have to commit it if a Cataclysm comes across, but he luckily gets close enough back towards the turret. Joby roaming over, does have flash, does have Strangle Thorns, everything at his disposal. I think that hop away from Vietnam Dragon will assuage it.
The thing is, for not important in Vietnam Dragon, you are hoping to burn that Cataclysm, but it's the turnaround factor. Joby can just drop that Tangled Growth and deny all of you. You are now locked into the pit with them. So very nice play. Not only that, because you were the reactionary side, Joby now gets control over those grubs, which will lean to the 6 grub counter, which all of a sudden puts Rematch in a great spot to over farm and overpower Winnie Richard if given the opportunity.
Oh, well. Not all 5 grubs taken yet, or 6 grubs, excuse me, is you see not important drop off. Hopefully we'll be able to get him back on sooner rather than later, as we certainly have a pretty close game number 2. I'm glad that our lovely admin Watercat made the distinction that I don't know how to do math when it came to the steaming, because this certainly feels like almost a bit more polished version of maybe what we expected in game 1 Orbital, right? With how polished and cautious it feels like everybody's playing.
Yeah, I mean, I would still say that IDA are playing with a little tempered aggression is really what it is, but they're still pushing. We see them be very aggressive and push forward. That's why the bot lane actually got very messy, as Duck and Chill Will kills are just trying to find that opportunity. Top side, I mean, the CS discrepancy is getting out of control. We expected this part, and with those 6 grubs, I think Rematch, if you can push Winnie Richard out, you might be able to pick up a plate in this time. But the game is about to get very spicy. Take a look at where Not Important currently is. If you find the likes of Chillwell kills, rotating back, you are dead, or you're gonna get a kill. Good call down.
Yep, Chillwell kills will spot out the Gromp take, or not Gromp, Krug's take. Make sure that they can't get wrapped under their own turret. Both these junglers have been stealing away camps, and man, that is mean. 23. That is so much extra health. Oh, calling down the mid lane. Look, wow. Through the lock-in. Vietnam Dragon didn't even have a chance to hop away if he wanted to.
I'm pretty sure that was halfway through the bottom lane. That's where Duck fired that hit in the mid lane. Very nice pinch. Blazing Cake gets freedom in that mid lane. I'm surprised you're not even pushing further. However, Not Important, looking for revenge at the bottom lane.
Yep, looking for a gank of his own, has the Cataclysm available. Duck does not have flash, so he's locked in, and this feels like deja vu for Duck. Encore gonna get blocked really well there by Bento. Heel's gonna come across, and somehow Duck's still up, but he's still free firing. Finally, Lean will shut him down, and Chill Will kills, does not have a chance. It's a double tap root coming across, but the Braum passive will sink through. Lean gonna commit the Mega Inferno Bomb and hit it right on the nail, ace in the hole. Double kill over to the bottom lane of Flash Syndicate.
There ain't no Caitlyn here. I don't know what that ace in the hole is, but it was a solid one to go for, because now you're getting collapsed on. You have to be a little bit worried, but I mean, Joby, you ain't getting there in time. So overall, well played. I think the only thing that I wish I could have seen is I don't know if Lean had his ultimate up in the time that Not Important was fighting, because that could have been the big lockdown. That could have been the big chance that Not Important could have stayed alive and they wouldn't have had to lose anyone. That would be my only misgiving. However, beautiful play. This is how you use a J4. You force these plays when the summoner spells are down and you get lead. Very nicely done.
Now with plating down, we're shifting to the mid game. You can already see IDA shifting their lane assignments. Despite no turrets being taken, Blazing Cake is down, matching a lean in the bottom lane. And it will allow with those grubs. Push Prio in the mid lane. Vietnam Dragon roaming up top. They're trying to go for rematch, but he is sucking up a lot of pressure. He does get the flash, will get to safety. And with him not dying, that's a free Drake take for Joby and company on the other side.
I think the big part, rematch had to flash there. If you went for the standard tabbies, you would have been fine, but you went Merc Treads instead. You're playing for the long game. You're playing for that chance to try and fight out against the Winter's Bite and all. So, you know, you have to ensure that your HP lead is still going to be okay. But as you said, Dragon went down. Not only that, Blazing Cake and Chill Will Kills are able to rotate their own value into getting this tower. Of course, Chill Will Kills might sacrifice their life. No, you're going to be okay. So first tower goes the way of IDA.
And they had Joby hovering in enemy jungle. I mean, he just stole away, I believe, at the very least, the blue buff. I think he actually got the wolves as well. Maybe the Grob's a bit greedy, my friend. Just take the 2 camps and don't give more gold over to Lean, because that was a smart decision, because Lean is also the main damage dealer for this comp. This Tristana has fallen flat. There are 4 kills invested into the Ziggs on the other side.
I mean, just heavy investment. I mean, you're sacrificing everything. Not Important down, still has to go through 5 camps to be able to reach their tick. So Joby's been having a ball.
Holy moly, yeah, I did not realize he's up 70 CS almost.
Yes, he has been power farming for the life of him. Currently 1,000 gold just based on that. Keep in mind, Not Important was able to get 2 assists. That factors into a little bit of gold into your pocket. Right now, Joby is starting to power up at a far faster rate than in game number 1, in my opinion, at least with the farm, with the differences there. It's not the kill threat, but at least this time you have the items. You went back, bought sort shoes. You're gonna have that raw power if you attempt to fight around maybe 3.5 minutes for this upcoming Drake.
You'll be the only person repeating a champion. We've seen some repeat champions in this series, another game with an Ashe in it, but the only person rocking the same champ they played in game number 1, and definitely, like you mentioned, looking a bit more refined in how Zyra wants to play this early game. We flash to this top laners and them trading blows to low health bars. I'm just unfazed by this point. They're never going to kill each other. They're 0-0-0, and they have been 20% HP for like half of this lane. Maybe a dive. Okay, that might actually change it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really have to worry about much because you're farming grass procs and the arrow lands from downtown.
Duck does it again. The Graspy roots through, and Winnie Richard drops off. Give a big tip of the cap over to Duck, though, for another cross-map snipe.
I'm telling you, it feels like whoever plays Ashe just doesn't miss a lot of the time. It feels very powerful. It feels great in their hands. I mean, we saw the laning phase 1, but it doesn't really matter. Now with the tower broken down, the Otis is on Flash Syndicate. You're starting to realize that you're losing this pressure game, and the J4 is not going to be feeling great into that late game. Your jump targets are going to be very low, and you're going to have to sacrifice your life at one point or another. I wouldn't be upset to see a second item GA just to be like, yeah, like I got to sack my life. I got to be jumping into fight. But that is the current moment. You are down about 4K, which, as we mentioned before, one of the larger gold leads we've seen in this series.
Yeah, which is really speaks to how close game 1 was. And going back to Joby, you're speaking on that Cataclysm. As double root. No, there's not enough damage. Joby, I think, you know, the Zyra obviously already played in game 1, so going back to it is comfortability factor, but I like it a lot into the Cataclysm, because the one caveat to Cataclysms is the fact that you are also locked in there with everybody else. And what does Cataclysm set up really well? Oh, just Zyra's entire kit.
Literally anything. That's the drawback. And so that's why I was saying Not Important. I think you have to realize you're going to lose your life as soon as this comes down. I need to see some sort of safety mechanism to allow you the confidence, because what I hate most is watching an engaged jungler feel too scared to engage, because there comes a point in the game where you have to be the sacrificial lamb for your team, unless you're super far ahead and you can one-shot everyone, right? So that's where I'm currently residing in this game. I am residing in the fact that Not Important needs to still have that confidence that you had in the early game to force fights, and you might have to willingly give your life over. Dragon coming up in about 45 seconds means that that's going to be your next testing place. You have Herald in your pocket. You can try and adjust to put down pressure in the mid or bot side, but at the current moment, it's just kind of held in pocket.
They're going to need it to try and go over this Dragon. I'm glad you pointed that out, because it's once again IDA able to play for a very early Ocean Soul, back-to-back games with Ocean Souls. Feel like that Rift Herald drops a little bit early. Maybe they're pushing for this mid turret. They do have Lean in it, and that's the Cardinal Sin throwing the AD carry into the Herald. Lean has to immediately commit the flash as the Stranglethorns went down, but look at Duck's damage. I mean, he nearly melts through Not Important. Flash forward or Chill Will kills, forces a response flash. There goes Winnie Richard in, but he's alone with that unstoppable force. He's a pretty stoppable rock if he goes into 5 people on his own, and Blazing Cake will execute him. GG rematch, going a little bit too far forward, but it is command of the lane, command of the Drake pit, back over to IDA.
And that hurts. That hurts. We all saw that coming. I mean, the early drop of the plants and the ultimate from Joba, you knew Lean, as soon as he took that Herald, was going to be in a rough spot, and you paid the price. You lose control over Dragon. You are now put on Soul Point, which we didn't see in game number 1. You don't have a choice to go in. You do not have that chance. And I'll be honest, Not Important. That's, I want to say, the second time you miss on your flag and drag. I chalked it up on the bot lane to just, hey, you know, close enough, no worries. You don't fully want to go in. This time, though, that was a perfect time to re-engage with the Cataclysm. It was up. You weren't able to pull it off. You couldn't deny the Dragon. I'm starting to get a bit iffy about this J4 pick for him.
I'm starting to get really scared of Blazing Cake. This is the part of the game where Lucian is the strongest. Obviously, he scales up really well. The problem with later in the game is when team players, champions outrange him, like Tristana's not going to outrange him, Ziggs is going to outrange him, and they're probably going to have some form of rally slows on the Ziggs and all these extra components to slow Lucian down. That's why he's more of a mid-game champion, because it's harder to navigate fights as a late-game champion. He's still going to be... my point here is Blazing Cake has a ton of damage already done. He's at 2 items, and this Lucian can burn through even the tankier members, I believe, of Flash Syndicate.
I will be honest, this is why I love... Yeah, oh yeah, no, Joey can do this. You have the empowered plants, you have all the seedlings. When you can collect them around, you can solo this out fairly well. This is... I mean, you need a little bit of help, but you do half HP, and no one really knows the difference. You're golden. No one is checking this, by the way.
Riot.
Yeah, there's the ping. There's the ping at 3.5k HP.
All right, well... He's not even going to smite it, by the way. He had smite up. They're going for a blaze. Another arrow sinks down for Duck. It's on to Bento. Should be able to put the shield up pretty soon here. The Encore still going to hit him. Still alive, though, is Bento, and finally will fall to Joby's might with the burn from the plants, and Not Important is the next to fall. That's a fleeting Cataclysm. The ults are just not synced together. Winnie Richard once again goes in on his own. This time has enough damage to execute Duck, and now reinforcements are swinging over here. Vietnam Dragon should have a lot of damage he could try and put out, but GG no rematch is tanky enough, and Joby's plants are just doing so much real estate in this fight, and now they've got Vietnam Dragon pinned against the wall. The Buster Shot will give him to safety, but it's Joby with the slows, and the burn isn't enough.
The buckle.
No rematch. Gets the buckle. He doesn't even need it. Gets the slam. Vietnam Dragon drops, and IDA have a stranglehold on this game and potentially series.
No. That is series. I'm so sorry to call it. That was a 4v5 situation. 1, you let Baron by. You have to know the power of a Zyra. You have to know Baron can be started up like that. 2, you wander in 1 by 1. Yes, Not Important. Couldn't really get in time, but Bento had the same issue and got caught out. 3, you tried to salvage it just to get a singular kill. Yes, you had teammates coming in, but the damage is not in your favor. And 4, Winnie Richard trying to dive in with no one back up, sacrificing your life for a solo kill. I get it, I understand it, but I just didn't feel it was the right call to make.
Not Important, just whiffed a flag and drag again. Just want that on record.
Yeah.
Wolf camp. Maybe it's a little bit mean here, but you know, Winnie Richard, I would have respected that dive for the solo kill if it was on to a member with a shutdown, but it wasn't. It was Duck. Duck doesn't even have a shutdown. This guy has a shutdown, and you're starting to see why. Is he just flawlessly pushes off a tank Malphite alone.
I will say that's why I always like to run Bramble early. I know it sucks, don't get me wrong, but my solo queue life, I love running it just to watch people hate me. That's the only reason. It is picked up third, so it's gonna do some work. But at this point, Blazing Cake is like, yeah, I'm golden. I'll take half this tower. Not even worry. I'm gonna heal up a little bit off the next wave. At this point, I'm just making sure the 1-4 works.
Yeah, and now the mites are really showing out. Baron and mites together is a diabolical combination for any turrets. Mid tier 2 gonna be down. I don't think the top one's far behind. Yep, they're secured as Winnie Richard is not covering top lane. He's trying to see if he can find some sort of ultimate angle, but it's just becoming harder and harder to find any angle if you are the Flash Syndicate.
Because at this point, Flash Syndicate have to realize this is kind of a bait. You're going ahead and pressuring out for IDA because Dragon's coming up in a minute. You want to clear out that top side. You want to make it a little less obvious where you're going to go. And now you can kind of flood the bot side with all the wards and with all the vision. You can take a look. Pink wards have been dropped down pretty freely around. Not only that, you got 2 towers, so you got a lot of gold to play with coming back into this lane. And remember, you're the squishies. You need the damage to provide some sort of threat and reason that Flash Syndicate don't go in. So at this point, honestly, this is the reason. Not only are you playing a totally different style than game number 1, but IDA are wholly impressing me with their willingness to play slow, to play methodically, and to not let the game get out of control.
You talk about damage. Some of those item thresholds coming online. Blazing Cake has 3 items. Joby gets that Seeker's Arm Guard done, so you can go golden on the Zyra. It's becoming rougher and rougher for the Flash Syndicate, and they're going to have to make their stand here with this Ocean Soul. GG no rematch on this full tank. Poppy holding them at bay. Ziggs is going to be late to the party. There's the Asher down. They're trying to burn through the front line. Strangle forward come across as well. Nobody getting to Blazing Cake. The Ziggs is too late to the party, and the party's been crashed by the police. Rocking the Avengers theme song. It is Iridescent Dawn Avengers to grab the soul, grab 4 kills, potentially with Lean getting chased down. There's your Banshee's Veil gone. There's a knock up to the skies and a series win in the cards for IDA as they will officially now punch their ticket to the playoffs as the #1 seed out of Bilgewater.
I mean, they have done so well, and I know we're calling it early, but it feels they are unstoppable. Yes, bot lane had some messiness in the early game, but that is negligible at this point. 10 seconds left on Vietnam Dragon, 20 left on Lean. They're going to try and get at least a Nexus Tower. Bento just trying to shove off and keep them at bay.
Yeah, the shield does do a lot to block the turret. Damage dealers coming up. We still have no Lean for another, looks like 10 seconds. First Nexus turret down. And the Ocean Soul, man, look at the value with the Seraphians getting. Their health bars haven't even depleted, and they're not the team with a fountain a couple paces away. Next Nexus turret soon to fall. The front line already down for Flash Syndicate.
They have no ultimates.
Rematch, and there goes the Inferno Bomb. Doesn't do enough damage. All of Flash Syndicate huddle at their fountain, but the Nexus falls, and now officially a 2-0 sweep for IDA.
That was a brutal and heartless way to take the game, and I wouldn't expect any less from IDA. You have the strength, you got the early soul, you know for a fact you will regen. You also know the Malphite and the J4 just barely hit level 13 and level 12. These are level 2 ultimates, meaning that the timers are so far down the chain, you are free to push. They knew all of this and knew exactly their limitations. Well done to IDA.
Well done to IDA. They finished the regular season out 5-0 in group play, +8 in the game difference category as well. Certainly establishing themselves as a team to look out for in the playoffs. Speaking of playoffs, Flash Syndicates, rough end of the series after a very fun game 1. Lot to learn from, and you still got playoffs ahead yourselves as well, just a bit of a tougher road.
For them, I'm actually really impressed. Lean and Bento specifically, to me, have shown immense strength in that bottom lane. I think keep them on the 80s, keep them on the strong, kind of overwhelming champions. The Ziggs can be, but scaling up to late might be a little bit of a problem. I really like their adaptability in game number 1. They fought back really hard with that Varus Ashe combination, one that we haven't seen in quite some time. And that allows Vietnam Dragon to be this mainstay in the mid to late game. So for the squad, I want to see them go back to the drawing board, make sure they get ready for playoffs and see if they can take down the likes of IDA, maybe further on in the bracket.
Well, all you at home can also start gearing up for your own playoffs watch party, as next week we will officially start the postseason here in the Aegis Defenders League summer split. But until then, that is the closeout of our broadcast tonight. It has been a blast to be alongside my man Orbital here. Get to chop shop, something. I'm running out of words to say, my friend, because it's been a long 2-0 series. We will be back going forward, like I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, for the rest of the ADL season. But if you're looking for more of an Aegis fix, there's a ton of leagues still running out through the rest of the week. Aegis Executioners League, APL, tons of more fun to watch. But make sure you're back here next Monday to see how the playoffs start out, where hopefully you'll get to look at both of these teams once again. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week as it goes, and take care.